It's easy to make $1 million. You need 5,000 people to buy a $200 product, or you need 2,000 people to buy a $500 product, or you need 1,000 people to buy a $1,000 product, or you need 500 people to buy a $2,000 product, or you need 300 people to buy a 3,333 product. See, when we break it down little by little, it seems pretty easy. The fact is, since miracle formulas for millions started to be spread, this number no longer impresses anyone. It seems that $1 million is the bare minimum, and it doesn't change anything in your life. Is this true? Well, that's what we're going to discuss today. First, we'll do the math to discover how much does 1 million mean in passive income. After, I'll teach you to discover how much you need to afford your retirement. And finally, we'll discover how much you need to be really rich. But please don't forget to comment. To be part of our community, I would love to hear your opinion, and I always respond to all comments. Also, like and subscribe. Let's dive in. Well, how much does 1 million mean in passive income? Let's take a step back. Imagine this with me. You finally made it. You've got $1 million. Feels pretty awesome, right? But let's slow down and see what this actually means for your everyday life. Imagine the S&P 500 as your financial best friend. Historically, this reliable buddy has returned about 10% each year. So, if you've got your $1 million nest egg sitting there, let's do some quick math. 1 million times 0.10 equals 100,000. That's $100,000 every year, or about $8,333 each month. But hang on, let's be smart about this. You've probably heard about the 4% rule. Financial planners absolutely love it. It's like gently turning on a tap. If you open it too much, too fast, you run out of water. But turn it carefully and you can drink forever. Just a quick backstory for context. This 4% rule comes from something called the Trinity study, done back in the 90s. A bunch of researchers dug into financial history and figured out that if retirees withdrew just 4% of their investment each year, their money would typically last at least 30 years and possibly much longer. Let's crunch that number. 1 million times 0.04 equals 40,000. That's $40,000 each year, or about $3,333 per month. Not too shabby, right? Now here's the cool part. Your money stays invested in the S&P 500, which keeps growing at about 10%. So even though you're spending 4%, your investments are still growing roughly 6% per year. Think of it as planting a financial tree that not only gives you shade, but keeps growing taller, stronger, and more impressive every year. So is $1 million enough? If your life comfortably fits into $3,333 per month, and additionally, your money isn't just sitting idle, it's actively growing and making your life better. But hey, that seems like very little, really, and I wish you would aim higher. But if 1 million is not enough, how much is it? It would be very difficult to calculate precisely how much you need off screen. But I found a very useful tool, the MIT Cost of Living Calculator. And I'll show you an example on the screen now of how to use it. Let's imagine that you are John and you live in Sacramento. Sacramento is in California. When you access the Sacramento page, you will see that there will be several numbers. Don't panic. First, we have the cost of living rule according to your wage. Here, we have the comfortable line, the average income, and the income that puts you in poverty in that location. Then, if you go further down, you will find all the costs that you would have if you lived with the ideal income. And here I talk about ideal income because you have to look for it, right? You won't go to the expense of investing and studying to not have comfort. Otherwise, the sacrifice is not worth it. And then we have some options with children, without children, alone, or with the spouse who also works or who doesn't work. It's quite complete. In this case, let's imagine that John is single, has no children. Here it says that the required annual income before taxes for him is $57,118. Then a little lower down there is typical annual salaries. You can check that out too. Well, but $57,118 monthly is $4,759. In other words, John would be in trouble if he tried to live on the passive income of $1 million in Sacramento. And if he had a child, he would have to go back to work. Let's reverse engineer the formula to see how much John would need invested using the 4% rule to cover these expenses indefinitely. The formula is investment needed equals annual expenses divided by safe withdrawal rate. Plugging in John's numbers, $57,118 divided by 0.04 equals 1,427,950. This means John would need approximately $1,427,950 invested to comfortably cover his lifestyle using the 4% rule. And remember, a little lower down, there is information on typical annual salaries to help further refine your financial planning. So, is $1 million enough? If your life lifestyle comfortably fits within $3,333 per month, congratulations. You've stepped into a self-sustaining paradise. However, if you dream bigger, or if your lifestyle demands more, you may either need to fine-tune your spending or aim to grow an even larger financial garden. Ultimately, financial freedom is incredibly personal. Reflect deeply, crunch your numbers using the formulas taught here, and you'll discover exactly how much is enough for you. Okay, right now let's talk about luxury, fancy cars, mansions, Hermes bags, first class. How much do you need to retire rich? To be a top 1% earner in the US, you should earn at least $819,324 a year. This translates into about $68,250 monthly. With this income, maybe you still don't own a private jet or wear luxury clothing every day, but it certainly covers a huge house, a premium car, and a very comfortable lifestyle. In this bracket, you are undeniably rich. Congrats. So, how much would you need to retire and sustain this top-tier lifestyle indefinitely? Let's apply our trusted 4% rule again. 819,324 divided by 0.04 equals 20,483,100. So to sustain a yearly income of 819,324 after retirement, you'd need approximately $20,048,000 invested. This figure highlights the level of financial commitment required to truly live a rich lifestyle comfortably without the pressure of active income streams. I don't want to deceive anyone here and say that you'll get rich just by investing, earning little, and doing crazy things to save. It's very difficult to become a multi-millionaire like that. You can retire and live a comfortable life for sure, but you can't have a life of luxury. Remember, achieving and maintaining such wealth isn't just about earning more, but it's a lot about earning more, okay? I don't know anyone who has reached this level without starting and growing a business, without working hard and making sacrifices. And I've been through that too. So I want you to know that the comforts of this life are the result of great sacrifices and that it is possible to achieve them. But the first step is to understand the path you need to take. Bye, cousin. Stay invested.